I think it's very important for all of us who are critical of Bush and critical of his response to 9/11 and critical of his abuse of 9/11 that we don't go so far overboard as to deny that 9/11 was evil. I think the reason that terrorism is evil is this one. Distinguishing between what happens to innocent people and what happens to guilty people is the fundamental moral principle. This is what human beings do. We want good things to happen to good people and bad things to happen to bad people. We want virtue to be rewarded, and we want vice or evilness to be punished in some way. We can disagree about the scope of the punishment, we can disagree about the kind of reward, but every time we feel that if some just person has been killed or lives a miserable life, and we say that's horrible, that's not fair, every time some scoundrel gets away with goes scot-free after committing crimes and gets a nice job in a right-wing think tank, we feel there's something manifestly unjust about the world when that happens. So we may disagree about the scope of the punishment, but the idea that human beings distinguish between the innocent and the guilty is something like the basic moral principle, okay? Now, earthquakes don't. That's the difference between earthquakes and human beings, all right? Earthquakes and floods and lightning strike the just and the unjust alike, and it makes no distinctions. But human beings make distinctions. Just people make distinctions. When terrorists simply seek to kill as many people as possible without any regard to what they did, they're not only killing innocent people, they're overturning the fundamental moral principle, right? And they're trying to imitate nature at its worst. And I think that's the reason why we were all so horrified by 9/11 and indeed by any act of terrorism, but 9/11 was so visually overpowering and struck so clearly at the symbols of power, the Pentagon and Wall Street, that our initial reaction, this is evil, was an absolutely right one. Unfortunately, we could have had the world on our side, and we certainly could have destroyed Al-Qaeda by now, had we acted in concert with the other nations who felt that what had been done on September 11th was indeed evil and felt tremendous sympathy with the United States. We couldn't have done it by saying we had a mission to rid the world of evil. This is not how evil works. We talked a bit about psychopathology and evil and the idea that a small percentage of the crimes in the world really are committed by people who simply take sheer pleasure in other people's pain. But in fact, the terrorists are not like that at all. The terrorists, on the other hand, I wouldn't call the terrorists banal in the same way that Eichmann was. But they are deeply committed to a series of ideals. And if we don't realize that and acknowledge that, we have absolutely no chance of undercutting that. The ideals may be wrong, but they're ideals that are as powerful as the ideals that send a young man or woman today to go and fight in Iraq